150 is what we have. Amit Gupta is Vice President and Fund Manager at ICICI Securities, and he's joining us right now to take some questions. Amit, good to have you with us here. Thank you. I mean, what is going on? Amit, the depth of moves that we are seeing. When I say depth, I mean the number of stocks which are jumping on large volumes in the mid and small cap space. It's almost as if the market has has fallen in love with many of these names once again. Many are at 52-week highs, if not at all-time highs. Actually, not a large number, but many are. What's going on? What's your sense?
So we have seen many colors of the market near the same levels. I mean, if you remember when we were before around 18,000 and we were falling from almost close to 19,000. So we had seen, the kind of correction in the same mid-cap and small cap space. And I think what is happening now, because 2022, we saw the very high inflation numbers. And we saw the central banks, they were directly buying, a lot of gold. I think one of the highest buying of gold we saw in the last year. And equity remains subdued. I think the time is coming now when the commodities actually have come down. And despite dollar being subdued, we have not seen that kind of pullback in the commodities. And that is the reason now I think some risk-on sentiment is emerging. And this is where I think the emerging markets, because when the dollar is subdued, you see more flows coming into emerging markets. I think that platform is getting ready for the equity markets now. And we have already seen many negatives. I mean, 3 or 4 banks in US, when that kind of news has come, we saw the credit default swaps actually moving up very sharply of the European banks. When I look into Deutsche Bank, when I look into some other banks, and then all of these things are getting factored slowly in the price. And we believe that from Q3 onwards, in S&P also, the earnings are going to revive. So this is where the flows into equities, I think, are going to increase now going forward. And Indian valuations, which have come down related to the emerging markets, because it was 105% in the month of October, and now it is almost close to 65-66% vis-a-vis the emerging markets. I think that is going to get more flows going forward now. So I think more stock-specific moves, more mid-caps coming up. In fact, some large caps, because in the recent fall, we saw some of the large caps had come down to good levels also.
Amit, afternoon. Can you tell us the reason behind your bullish call for PSU banks? Because stocks have already done well in the last 1 year. And outside of State Bank of India, which is the PSU bank that you like?
So my feeling is, if you look at the PSU bank, they had fallen because when the Adani news came up, we saw a sudden fall in all of them. There was a lot of uncertainty what is going to come out. Since then, we have already spent enough, time now, and slowly the things are getting absorbed, and nothing, significant has come out. And we believe, if you look at one of the biggest positive for the banks, so besides credit growth, which is coming up now in retail and SME segments, and I think it is going to pick up in the corporate segment also now, and more private capex going forward can actually push it more, which is more gradual right now. I think the other positive is the bond yields. So if you see the GSEC yields since the month of May 2022, they have remained quite subdued. We had repo rate around 4% in the month of May, and then it moved to 650 bips, almost 250 bips of surge. But bond yields or GSEC yields or 10-year GSEC yield, which was near 7.6%, it continued to remain below that level. And now it has come down to almost 7.12%. I think this is where, the PSU banks will find a base formation, possibly a lower downside, and eventually with the numbers, I think they should start moving up. Now, the only fear in the market left is the NIMs, which possibly are peaking out, and they may, start coming down by a few bips. My sense is, if you look at the personal loan growth and look at the repricing of the corporate loan book, because corporate loan book can be the joker in the pack. I think if this capex starts and the repricing of the loan book starts, I think this is good for the margin accretive perspective from the banks.
Okay, by the way, we're at about 3 o'clock and the market's not doing too much, still about 18,150, so not able to make much headway towards the highs of the day or beyond. That's the story. But anyway, it's holding on to the bulk of the gains. You can see today's day has been largely steady. I mean, we had that big gap up in the morning and then it's kind of just held there. Not too much traction on the way up. Amit, hi, good afternoon. Nigel was earlier telling us about one of your portfolios where I think you used to have Infosys. I just want to check, given what we've heard from the company this quarter, Is there any rethink? Did you or are you looking to prune down your holdings? What's your view on large cap tech?
So no major rethinking on the IT pack yet, and no major downsizing also now, because I think the valuations have come to be better. 1200 I think is a good level for Infosys now, whatever we think of. I think many things are getting factored. Yes, we are seeing the hiring pickup now. If that starts, I think the stock also will start finding its momentum. I think the next big thing is going to be how the earnings are going to shape up in S&P, because there are three major segments. One is BFSI, the other is retail, the third is the high-end technology. All these three contribute a lot to the IT companies, particularly from the North America. And I think if the S&P numbers starts recovering from these three segments, it is possible that IT will also find some solace at these levels. There may not be a very sharp pullback, but I think a good support from Nasdaq and possibly from these earnings, I think can limit the downside now for these stocks. So no major downsizing now from our side in the IT pack.
All right, Amit, just hold on to that thought. Maybe you're talking about a couple of other names in the aviation space that could be running into trouble, and Interglobe Aviation could be a potential beneficiary. We had Dipan as well that commented on that. He was talking about them posting their best ever numbers. Just take a look at that stock. You know, that stock has moved to the high point of the day. It's up close to 2.9% odd. It was up 1.5%. But if you just pull up a green candle, you'll see a sharp up move is what you're seeing on that particular name. But Amit, I heard you talking about some of these PSU banking names. Well, I believe you like the PSUs as well, because the PaaS space is what you're quite optimistic on. And NTPC makes it to your list. Tell us more.
Yes, I think, because if you see the power space, it is coming out of a long consolidation period now. Many years we saw that if you look at NTPC from the power generation, when the power was going to the states, the discounts they were unable to pay. I think that was a major problem. And now we have seen that some part of it is, has come back. We have seen that the company now is moving into renewables also. So far in their life, they had a 70 gigawatt of thermal capacity, and now 60 gigawatt of renewable capacity they are going to build up in the coming 8 years. If you look at last year, in financial year 23, they added another 3.3 gigawatt. And I think very soon in the coming 1 or 2 quarters, they are talking about 17.5 gigawatt, out of which 10.5 is coming from thermal, and the remaining 7 gigawatt is coming from hydro and renewables. So I think these are good points, good things which are coming up in NTPC. This is a company where if the raw material cost increases, which actually has been one of the factor to many companies in the recent period, it does not hamper the profitability too much, because it runs on cost plus fixed ROE model. I think this is something which can come good for the company. So our sense is, looking at this, the peak power demand in India, which is continuously rising. I mean, it used to be 202 gigawatts when I look at 2-3 years back. Now it is coming to 231 gigawatts. So electricity is moving to the villages, and we are going for more industrialization in India, more manufacturing push. I think this is where there will be more demand going forward. So this whole space where there is a policy push and the valuations also are inexpensive, I think it definitely demands a buy now at these levels. That is why we have included NTPC in our portfolio, which is ACE equity portfolio.
Amit, thank you very much for joining in. Some more stocks up for you on your screen. UCO Bank, a sharp jump of 86% in the company's profitability. The asset quality has improved on a sequential basis. The stock has gained close to about 2.5%. The net NPA at 1.29% is lower compared to 1.66% in the December quarter. Havells is slipping a bit ahead of numbers, which, tomorrow. So Havells is actually in the red now. So watch out for that stock. And finally, Interglobe Aviation is tilting on the way up, 2.5% gain. Reports are suggesting that Go First to stop taking bookings for 2nd, 3rd, 4th of May. So Interglobe Aviation is on the rise. Slip into a break. On the other side, as always, we'll get you a few BTST calls from Mitesh Thakkar.